When it comes to managing the watershed in a way that protects and enhances ecological productivity and resiliency, one of the first things that is often discussed is the importance of riparian zones. And this is true in urban environments as well as agricultural and forestry. And I wanted to demonstrate today how sometimes hard and fast rules, especially when it applies to riparian zones, can actually lead to an ecosystem not recovering at the rate or the potential that it could. And so today we are in a floodplain that was reforested. I should say there was a plantation of black spruce planted here about 20 years ago. And some of this plantation is actually into the primary floodplain, and some of it's in the secondary floodplain, might get flooded once or twice annually. The problem with this plantation, so I guess we're left with the legacy of the previous owner's decisions here. He's planted a spruce plantation in a floodplain, and anyone who's familiar with floodplain forests would know that a dense stand of softwood is a little bit unnatural. Generally, there's a greater risk of species, herbaceous shrubs like willows and alders, choke cherries, those early successional species. And in a degraded river like the one we have here, there's a great importance on having that successional vegetative process occur. And an example of this is this section of river down here is accumulating large woody debris. It's creating debris jams, and this is creating pools. It's creating new habitat. It's creating some complexity in the system that this system so desperately needed. And another part of the process that's occurring is gravel that's coming from upstream erosion is being deposited. It's forming spawning channels. It's improving the depth of the water table. So all these things are good. This is all occurring adjacent to this plantation forest that we have here. But if you look below the trees here, there's nothing growing. The bottom of the trees are dead. And upstream in an area where the floodplain is recovered naturally, what has happened is alders and willows, they've created the perfect conditions for the colonization of that habitat by beavers. And the beavers are now in that section of stream, and they're really transforming that degraded habitat into something that's probably a lot closer in terms of characteristics to the pre-European settlement type of conditions than what's going on downstream. So one of the things we could do to improve the function of this aquatic ecosystem and this floodplain habitat would actually be to come in here within the riparian zone and cut down trees. And it sounds counterintuitive, and it goes even against some legislations and protections. But if we were to come in here and just start felling and thinning out some of these black spruce, you could just leave the whole tree on the ground. This is my property, so I'd probably junk some of that up for firewood and maybe make some fence posts and that sort of a thing. I'm going to leave all of the branches here, all of the tops, and probably only take a small percentage of the overall biomass. And what is going to occur following the removal of some of these trees, the thinning out of these trees, is your herbaceous shrubs and your regenerative early successional species are going to begin popping up, and they're going to create a nice food source for beavers, which is really going to be able to transform that ecosystem. It's going to put it in hyperdrive, and it's going to have big benefits for overwintering of Atlantic salmon juveniles. They love beaver dams and those deep ponds. And it's also going to recharge the water table, which is going to improve water quality, decrease water temperature in the summer in the downstream habitats. And it's just going to create a ton of habitat for all sorts of species, birds, animals, fish, everything. So this is just an example of where context matters more than hard and fast rules. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're interested in seeing more land management, river systems management videos, hit the subscribe button. Thank you.